All right. I'm going to tune up. My guitar's in a weird tuning right now. I'm going to keep talking about chord names. We're going to do the minor chords, and then we can chat. And I was just thinking about it when you do the minor. It's like, what's the least minor key of all the minor keys? Oh, let me put the Discord up here. Hold on a second. Here's the Discord invite, and I'll pin that. There we go. Copy. All right. Bob Schumann, what's going on, man? Pin that. So everybody can go to the Discord. I haven't been to the Discord in a while. Sorry about that. Been kind of busy. Family stuff, family coming to visit, things like that. And then church was really busy last week. We had what Dudley, pastor, calls a revival. Basically, it's for the weekend plus 4 more nights of different pastors from different churches and stuff like that. You and Erwin McManus, Bob Goff, he was pretty hilarious. Israel Houghton played on Wednesday, so we backed him up. I don't know if you know who Israel Houghton is. If you are a church person, you would know who Israel is. Let's see. Hey, John, good to see you. I hope you're well too. Well, I don't have any teeth issues right now, thankfully. All right, so let me see. I think I did not save that document that I had open for this. Let's see if I did save it. Maybe I did. The one I used to create this little chart right here. All right. And these 2 charts that we use to create the chords and to understand the chord names. I need to do one for minor chords. The interesting thing I didn't really think about, but there are 3 minor diatonic scales. The minor scale, which is also called Aeolian. And there's Dorian, which is a little less minor than minor, and then there's Phrygian, which is a little more minor than minor, and I'll explain that in a second. Hey, Jack Lloyd, what's going on? Hey, Paul Meyer, good morning. You doing well? Busy working? Hold on, let me move this over there. Okay, so let's see if I actually saved that. I don't know that I did. I need to call Rick tonight, too. Let's see this. That's weird. What did I do? Oh, it's up here. Duh. Gotta scroll up sometimes. Live stream stuff. Did I put it in there? I don't think I saved it. So I'm gonna have to create it again. How many was that? 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, it says 15. I don't need to count them. Okay. Hold on a second. Let me just create another, because I want to do one for the minor notes. But the scale we're going to use to create minor chord symbols is going to be the C Dorian. Because when you say C minor 6, for example, that would the 6 is going to be an A, not an A flat. And so and don't worry, there won't be a quiz on this, okay? But take a sip. I'm going to change format, layout. They never put things where I think they should put them. There we go. But I thought it's interesting that it's the when I say something's the least minor, it's the minor scale has, like for C minor scale, has three flats, E flat, B flat, and A flat. And C major scale has no flats, no sharps. It's just A, B, C, or C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, right? So you're going from a scale that has no flats to one that has three flats. And so, as you can see there, that's the C mixolydian scale that we use to create the dominant seven chords. And that has one flat. But the scale that's kind of in between C minor and C mixolydian is C Dorian. It's got two flats, and that would be E flat and B flat. It has a flat seventh and a flat third. Those are the main two notes. Those are the most important notes in implying a minor chord or a minor seventh chord. And like I said, if you have a C6, that usually is going to be not usually, it's always C minor 6. It's going to be an A note, not an A flat. So let me do a little chart though, a table. Okay. Select all. I want to get rid of all the colors. Cells. Okay. Fill. No fill. All right. And then I want to center everything. All right. And then here I want to go 15. And here I want to go 2. Like thus. Perfect. All right. So the scale, the C mixolydian scale, the C Dorian scale, C, D, E flat, F, G, A, B flat, and then C. And I'm going to do another octave so that we can count all the way up to 15 again. Sorry, I'm going to read these in a second here. Sorry. And then I don't think we're going to have to talk about this horribly long. So if you have something else you want me to, any questions or something else you want me to talk about, I was going to talk about capoing, but I could talk about anything. All right. And then here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, flat 7, 8, 9, 10. No, flat 10. Technically. Don't really, I do think of it as tenths. I can talk about that too. 11, 12, 13, flat 14, and then 15. All right. Let me make these all bold so they kind of stand out as much as possible. Yeah, still not great, but not bad. I think this is almost exactly the same thing I did before. That's right. All right, here, let's go here. Desktop. All right, so here's the next one. Oh, it's a little skinnier. Sorry about that. Let's see. I can drag it out down here for now because we're going to talk about it. All right. Chord tones, something this. All right, so let me just say hey, Holly, good to see you. Dennis, good to see you too. Is Bruce here? Let me see. Jack Lloyd. My thumb is just about back to normal. Oh, good. Yeah, I mean, it's probably one of those things you're just gonna have to kind of like keep warming it up. Like when I go to walk to Starbucks, I'm usually like, just kind of warming up my fingers. I don't push anything too hard. The thing that feels good is kind of pushing like my fingers back a little bit, and just no pain, just to a point where it just kind of get a little resistance. Because I'm getting older. My grandmother had arthritis, which is it's probably one of those things that skips generations. So and she had it in her hands. So far, so good on me. I'm very sensitive to it because I'm using my hands all day. And I think, John, you're probably that same thing. Your hands are very important to your job. Let's see. Hey, Ryan, good to see you. Working and lurking. That's totally fine, Paul. I love that you're there. It makes me happy. Lena, yay! Missed you. Okay, Holly's going to be right back. Oh, there she's back. Hi, Tom and everyone. Peroni will hang around as long as I can. Going to have to pop out. Okay. And so let me, Guten Morgen, Dennis. Sam Stamos is in the house. Thank God. Yeah, you've missed a few live-wise. All good. I should probably do this on Saturday morning. If I did this on Saturday morning, I bet I'd double the number of people watching. Do you think? I should think about that. Might not be a bad idea. What do you think about that? Going to Saturday morning. So what the way we were working, okay, was that oh, I think I have piano now, by the way. I think I can get a piano going. Might be kind of nice. Some things are just easier to teach. On piano, but just a little bit more, although you can't see my hand, but I can play all the chords, all the different chords. And so what we learned last week was that when you're creating a like, for example, we're using major scale to create chords, and coming up with the names, we went C, E, G. We start with a C major triad, 1, 3, 5. And then if we want to play a C major 7 chord, we go C 1, 3, 5, 7. If we want to play a major 9th chord, we go 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. If we want to create a major 11th chord, which is not really common in that form, 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11. And if you want to create a major 13th, 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11, and 13. Again, when you add that up, if you look at a C major 13 chord, technically, and here's what it would. You would never hear that chord. That's not that particular voicing wouldn't be the way to play that. But you have 7 notes, and you only have 6 strings on guitar unless you get 7 string out. But even if you had a 7 string, it would be an impossible chord to play. So and you wouldn't want to play that. But we learned that you start to eliminate notes. And if there's a bass player, you don't even have to play the root. So like for example, when we go down to the C Mixolydian scale, that we have that B flat, we did the C13. That's a good 13th chord. That's a good 13th chord if you have a bass player. If you don't have a bass player, I guess you can grab your thumb around like that. And here you could. But there's only a flat 7th, a 3rd, which those two are the guide tones. So those are really two of the most important tones to play. This tells you if it's a dominant chord or a major 7th sounding chord, the B flat does. And the E tells you if it's a major or minor. So like that that would be, and then here's up here is the 13th, and here's the 9th. There's no 11th in there. You don't need the 11th. You really don't want the 11th. You don't need the 5th. 5th is not usually necessary. One of the reasons why you don't need 5th is because on a C chord, if you're playing a C, there's overtones. There's a G in there in the overtones. You can't quite hear, but your soul can hear it. Okay, you can kind of sense it, and so you don't really need to hear that note. And then so if I were to make this a major 13th, I would take that B flat up to B natural, and that would be a major 13th. It's a nice chord. So 13th, C 13th, and I use the triangle to denote major 7th, but you can write out MAJ. And the way you get the triangle on a Mac keyboard is Option or Alt J. And you can get, so like if I were to write that C major 13, it would be C, and then I do this Alt J thing, and then 13. And that's how I do that. So I guess it's really technically the delta symbol, so that's why they have a command for it. And then a minor 13, see, again, we're going to go back to the dominant 7th, that B flat there, and then we're going to go to the E flat. We're going to have a minor 3rd. And that chord I've actually had on charts before. It's kind of a cool sounding chord, okay? And what I'm technically, the E minor 13th, if we look at that bottom chart, it would be 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11, 13. But we don't need the 11. We don't need the 5, and we don't even need the 1. So we're left with a flat 3, a flat 7, again, which is flat 3, flat 7. Those are our guide tones. Okay, the 7th determines if it's a dominant 7th, a major 7th sound. The 3rd determines if it's a major 3rd or minor, or major or minor chord. And then we have the 13th, the A. Again, I'm using a Dorian scale here to come up with our skeleton for our chords. Now, the thing I asked you to do last week, and I'm hoping you can do it, is to memorize, go to the top diagram there, and I want you to memorize all the triads. C, E, G, D, F, A, E, G, B, F, A, C, G, B, D, A, C, E, B, D, F, and C, E, G. Okay, I want you to memorize the sound of all of those. I'm sure somewhere, hey, Bruce, good to see you. Any trouble logging in? I hate that. Let's see, I read where the major 11 has a clashing between the 3rd and 4th, 100%. So it's played a minor 7th extension. Yeah, there's a common 11th chord, but I usually, if C11, I usually play it as B flat over C. I call it the Earth, Wind, and Fire chord. Just hear the horn section doing that. Trombone down, you know, the trumpet up here, and then the alto and the tenor, alto. Get this. And all I'm doing is moving an 11th chord up by in a diminished scale. And diminished scale is just an alternating scale. It just alternates half step, whole step, half step, whole step, or you can start with a whole step. So 1 fret, 2 frets, 1 fret, 2 frets, 1 fret, 2 frets. It's an interesting scale. I'll use it over over 7th chords to create kind of a jazzy sound. Because if I play it starting with a half step, for example, if I do it in C, the half step I got C, D flat, which is the flat 9, D sharp, which is a sharp 9, the 3rd, F sharp, which is the flat 5th, the 5th, G, the 6th, the 7th. So you got some really good tones in there. You got that flat 5, which gives you that blues kind of thing going. You got that flat 9 and sharp 9 thing going on, which is a really, really common kind of used very commonly over dominant chords, dominant 7th chords. And so that's diminished scales are kind of fun for that, and they're a quick go-to once you have them down. One way to play it is to put your, like for example, a G diminished scale. Put your first finger on the G note there, okay? And this is a very symmetrical way to play it. All right, you got it? Okay, play that note, go up a fret, but slide your finger up a fret, like that. So we're gonna play G, A flat, and we're gonna get B flat and B, like that. So I did first finger, again, first finger, one fret up, and then third and fourth finger. You can already hear kind of the diminished quality of it. And then you're just gonna go up to the next string, one fret up from where you started before. So you started on the third fret. Now you're gonna start on the fourth fret and do the exact same thing. And then you'll notice there's G again. Now here, of course, when you get to the B string, everything messes up. Now you got to go up a fret and there to find that G. So you want to just find those 3 G's or whatever chord you want to play over. And that's a really kind of a fun way to play the diminished scale. All right, that's not really what we're talking about. So we're going to talk about the minor chords. And so if we look at the first, the 1, 3, 5 in the bottom diagram right there, I'm going to try to keep it there. You know what I could do is maybe make this smaller. All right, and then drop this down. And I like it that it's kind of right here up against my guitar neck. Not that it has anything to do with the fretboard, but we can talk about the... So when we look at C minor, we have C, E flat, G. And the way you would write that is just C little m. I saw it as C-M-I-N. That's way too much work, especially if you're doing quick notation. You're doing a takedown chart. Yes, thank you everybody for joining us. Thank you, Holly, and hey, Scott Johnson, what's going on? Thanks, Bruce and Holly for doing all the bookkeeping there. Who else? Did I miss anybody? Well, Brian's here, and AJ. Hey, AJ, good to see you. Okay, and Joseph. Joseph is here. Good to see you, Joseph. Hope you're feeling well. Enjoying the cooler weather. It's cold. I actually wore this to go to Starbucks, and I was cold. I was like, okay, I need to put a coat on next time. It's crazy. We're getting down to the low 50s. So okay, so yeah, the most common, just C little m, all right? And I can write that just so you can see it, C, M. All right, that's C minor. All right, now the next note we could add, we have C, and then if we go up to the 7th, we get B flat. And that's a C minor 7 chord, 1, 3, 5, 7. It's every other note. And so that's a C minor 7 chord, often played like this, or this. Sweet potato fries. Not a fan. I don't know. I should like them. I don't mind sweet potatoes. You got to have a good dipping sauce if you're going to have sweet. You know, it was a big thing. It's a big thing to kind of mix the two too. You get a big basket of fries and it has both sweet potato fries but you know, they are literally sweet. So okay, well, Joseph, listen away and I'll pray for you. It's I hate battling health issues, not fun, but I'll lift you up this week. Yeah, so the C minor 7 is C, E flat, G, B flat. Okay, and then the next thing, I'm on my weight loss journey. I'm doing the intermittent fasting, among other things. So I'm doing 18/6, not having a problem. It's a little, like today might be tough because I got up early, and if you get up early, it's a long haul until I can actually eat. I can't eat today until 3:30. So the next thing, if you want to play a C minor ninth, is you're going to add the ninths. So you have 1, flat 3, 5, flat 7, 9. And I might say 1, 3, 5, 7, 9 for shorthand, but if I'm saying that, I'm referring to this diagram down here. So just imply the flat third and the flat seventh, so I don't have to say flat third and flat seventh all the time, or else it just sounds funny. It just makes me sound like flat, 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 right? All right, so 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. Now, like one of the most common C minor ninth chords I play is this one, and that would be written. Let me show you this one here. Okay, C, M, 9. All right, real simple. And the way I'm playing this one is like this. It's a 4-finger chord, really pretty chord. But the nice thing about this, because it's, it's 4 strings and 4 fingers, it's completely movable. So whatever note this is, that's a C, that's what this chord is. And you'll notice right here we got C, there's our E flat, which is our third, our flat third. There's our 7th, which is our flat 7th or 7th. And so there we have our guide tones right there, and then on top is the 9th. Right? If you want to, that would be a minor also without a 5th. So there's no G in this chord, but you don't need a G in this chord. But it's a really nice, very jazzy sounding chord, almost soothing. Just play this for a while, hopefully make Joseph kind of be able to tune out his pain. I'm not laughing at you, Joseph. I'm just saying, music is very powerful, and it can do that kind of thing. But yeah, so now here's the thing. If we're talking about, for example, the key of C major, there's a D minor ninth in the key of C major, and there's an A minor ninth in the key of C major. All right, there's not the E minor chord, the 3 chord in the key of C. Okay, so just a quick review, and there won't be a quiz on this, but a quick review. The major minor tonality of the triads in the key of C, C is major, F is major, G is major. So the 1, 4, 5 are the major triads, and then the 2, 3, and 6 are the minor triads, D, E, and A. And that's, a great way to start writing songs is to go, okay, I can go. Just going through the different 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 chords in the key of C. The thing is, when you do a minor ninth, you're adding notes, right? So we get to D minor, and there is an E in the key of C. We can see it right there. That's the third. And if we go up to A minor, way up here, that ninth is a B, and there's a B in the key of C. But here, if we do E minor ninth, there's an E minor chord in the key of C, right? E minor is in the key of C. However, E minor ninth is not. Because that's an F sharp. There's no F sharp in the key of C. So if you were to, would you play an E minor 7 flat 9? Never. That's what that would sound like. But that would be correct for the key. You can play E minor 7. E minor 7 works. So E minor 7, like you can play E minor 7 with 1 finger. Open, 2nd fret, open, open, open. Okay? And that's almost, but here's E minor 9th. There's a way to play E minor 9th. You put that F sharp on top. Well, you can tell we're not in the key of C anymore. That F sharp contrasts with the key of E, C. So anyway, so sometimes these chords are great and they're movable and everything, but they don't necessarily correspond with the major and minor tonalities in the chord, in the key. So like, for example, the only dominant 7th chord in the key of C is the G. The F, now I would play F7, I would play C7 in the key of C. If I was maybe going an F chord, if you want to kind of get that gospel sound, you're doing like a... You know, you want this... You kind of that... You want a kind of a gospel vibe. Oops. Or a sharp 9. That B7 sounds really good. Because that C7 creates tension that wants to be resolved to that F. So it's, again, music's about tension and release. Okay. Yeah, the E. That's actually that E minor 7. Oh, in open position. Yeah, you could do this one, and that would be 0, 2. So I'm talking frets here. 0, 2, 2, 0, 3, 0. Or you could also go 0, 2, 2, 0, 3, 3. I use that one a lot. Get that nice droney D and G on top. All right. So let's get back to the C minor. The C minor 11, I don't really ever see that. Well, here's what you do see. I see now, was it John that you mentioned the rub between the 7 and, or was that Stam? I can't remember. The rub between the 7, the 11 and the 3rd, or it's the same as the 3rd and the 4th. In a C11 chord would be that makes that chord less common, less desirable. But I don't see, if I see C minor 11, usually, if I put a 9th and I play a 7th and then I put the 11th on top and play a C, I'm just playing B flat over C, which is the same as the C11, minor 11. However, if I want to get that minor 3rd in there, check this chord out. That's actually a very common chord. So if someone said C minor 11, I would technically play, I would substitute, and they may mean this chord, but C minor 11, for the most part, equals C minor 7, 11. Or you could call that C minor 7, C minor 7 add 11. But I started, you could also call, C minor 7 add 4 if you wanted to, because the 4 and 11 are the same thing. Oh, sorry, sorry, I wrote that wrong. Yes, I'll tell you who else plays this chord a lot. C minor 7 add 11. A lot. Let's see, C minor 7 add 4. That's what I meant. So, yeah, I'm losing people. They're like bored out of their gourd. Andy Summers, the Police, he uses this chord a lot. And the way I'm playing that, it's a little bit of a stretch. I can show you a different version. It's a little easier. So C minor 7, 11. I call it the 7-11 chord. And I may have done it on I don't think I ever put that video out. So I'm playing nothing there on the bottom string, and then 3rd fret, and then nothing, then 3rd, then 4th, and 1st. Okay, that's one way to play it. The other way to play it would be up here, and it's a little bit less spread. See, this one you've got a 4-fret spread. This one you only have a 3-fret spread, and the frets are getting smaller, but it just depends on what chord you're playing. So they're not smaller here. Okay, so, and that's going to be also C minor 7, 11, and that's going to be 8, nothing, 8, 8, 6, and nothing. All right, and that's, so that, this chord technically is a C. Oh, thanks, Club B&T. Oh, Thanks, Brad. Yeah, I got to 110. Yeah, when did I hit 100? Was that right after Christmas, right? So, not bad. October, 10 months later. Yeah, but I mean, I'm never going to get to 1,000,000. It's just not going to happen. I'm not as committed to creating content as the people need to be, as someone needs to be to hit a 1,000,000 subscribers. But I like being with you guys. And so, tell me what you think. Maybe let's talk about it on Discord, about maybe me moving this to Saturday. I mean, I kind of like having my Saturday, but, you know, I'm already working later in the day at church. So it's not like I ever get in my head that it's a day off. I could try doing Saturday and see what our turnout is. Because I just think more people are off from work. I think, you know, mostly what I'm getting here on Mondays are people that have either Mondays off or they just don't, they're retired. Or lurking like Paul. Oh, you know what? This is another minor seventh that I use. I like this. Top 4 strings, 10th fret, 12th fret, 11th fret, and then 13th fret. It's a nice minor. There's no third in there, though. I've got a 5th, which we don't really need. Got a root, a 5th, a 7th, and an 11, a minor 7th at that. So I can do major 7th, and you'll see why we don't do major 11ths very often. It just doesn't sound very good. Minor 11ths sound great. Oh, oh, right. Okay, yeah, because Sam, you'd be watching football. That's right. Sam wouldn't be there. Okay. That's good information, Sam. So for Sam, I won't do Saturday. Or maybe I'll just do a private on Monday for Sam, and then I'll go ahead and do Saturday. So the minor 11th, C minor 11 has C, E flat, G, B flat, D, and F, but technically I didn't do any that had, I guess I could do this. That's not bad. So I did the C minor. It'd be easier if I did this in B minor 11. So I have the root, flat third, 7th, 9th, and 11th. And so that is nothing on the bottom. 2, 0, 2, 2, 0. Kind of like playing an A chord and then moving your second finger or whatever finger is on the 4th string up to the 5th string. See that? There's A. That would be technically B minor 7, B minor 11. Yeah, the problem is, Holly, the only people who are going to find out about that poll are people who were here on Monday, right? So it might be skewed towards Monday. I think what I need to do is start doing Saturday and see how many people find me. But I might have to do Saturday and Monday for a minute. But it would be nice to not have to think about Monday, because Sundays are always a long day. So we have C, E flat, G, B flat, D, F, and then the 13th is that A. So how do minor 13? It's like, yeah, it's just not. But that's one right there. And C minor 13 happens. It's not a horribly uncommon chord. But anyway, that's the origin of the name of it. Again, to get to the 13th chord, you've got 7 notes. You only have 6 strings. It's basically like a D minor triad on top of a C minor 7 triad, if you want to think of it that way. Sounds like a Stravinsky piece. So, but C minor, but those are fairly common now. There's a couple that, like C minor sus4. A minor sus4. When you're sussing the 4, you're really generally getting rid of the third. So you really don't have a major or minor tonality. So A minor sus could go to A, or it could go to A minor. The tonality of it doesn't need to be in the name. The tonality, if the tonality of it is in the progression. What that means is, in other words, if I'm in the key of A, you know, well, or even more common, like if I were doing A sus, it might be in the key of D or something. I'm like, right? And, or if I go, you don't know the key until I resolve that D note in the A chord, the sus. Okay, check this out. I could change this chord progression to be in the key of G. So if I go A sus to A minor, now that's an A minor sus, but you really don't call, you would never call an A minor sus. When you say A sus, you're almost, it's, you know, like C sus was C, F, G. There's no E in there, so you don't know if it's major or minor. There's no E flat, so you don't know. It could go, or it could go to. So the tonality of that sus chord is determined by how you resolve it. All right, does that make sense? Yeah, how far are you from East Lansing? Wait, is East Lansing? No, East Lansing is Michigan State. Michigan is in, or do I have that mixed up? So how far are you from Michigan Stadium? Oh, here's an interesting chord. C minor with a major 7. All right? So if I played C, E flat, G, and B major, it sounds very much like an augmented chord or something. Usually when we hear that chord, it's usually either going to a C minor or a C minor 7. It's on the way to something like very bossa nova. But the way you would notate that, so it's a C minor triad with a major 7th. So the way I've seen it, you would see it with like C little m, C M, and then MAJ7. Of course, I would use the triangle if I can, with a slash and then the triangle 7. Or you could just, like if you're using a triangle, you could probably just get away with C minor and then the triangle 7, like that. I'd probably write it something like that. If it was just for me, if I was doing an official notation for a chart or something, I might go ahead and put the slash in there. I hate using the slash because to me, I always see the slash and I think, oh, C minor over the major 7. You know, it's like with the B and the bass. Yeah. Yeah, that's technically A minor with a major 7th. Here's A minor. And here's A minor with a major 7th. And here's an A minor 7th. And then here's A minor 6. Very common progression, actually. Oh my gosh, I made more money off teaching that song than Led Zeppelin made off of it. Probably shouldn't say that on live anywhere, because then they'll be like, we need your royalties, though. We need all that money, but from us. You know, for us. But that thing, it would take 5 lessons to teach Stairway to Heaven. And every kid back in the 80s still wanted to learn, 80s and 90s wanted to learn that song. I mean, every time I would teach it, and I should have had it all written out and just made copies. But there's something about actually playing it and showing them section by section and writing it out in front of them. I think that was kind of my thinking, was that was a little more instructive than if I just handed them a piece of paper and say, hey, learn this. And every time I figured it out, I noticed something different, like. He goes to the open A instead of here. He changed it, every time I'm like, oh wait, he does it this way or that way. And I still, to this day, I don't know if I've taught it correct, but the main thing was for the kid to be able to do that, and then everybody, all their friends go, oh my gosh, you're so good. That was what it was all about. Yeah, right? It'd be hilarious if I got a copyright strike for that. And they are prone to do that. I did get one. I just took it out. So if there's a gap in this video, it's because I had to take it out, because that's one way of not. You can either have them get your money, you can demonetize it, or you can have that part of the video cut out, and it would be less than 10 seconds. So I'm like, fine, you can cut out that 10 seconds of video. Those are options, and that allows me to continue to monetize it, to make the dollars that I make off of these live streams. So anyway, but that's why I consider moving to Saturdays, because I feel like we could double the numbers here. I mean, we're sitting pretty low right now, right? We're like 19. It's not very good. We've been as high as, what's this? 27, 26, 27. Yeah, so I'm not engaging right now. Exactly, Sam. Chop, chop. There was a chord that I didn't talk about. Well, there are 2 chords that I didn't talk about before. And again, these were I almost feel like I wouldn't believe me if I said this, if I heard someone say this, but used to be like a C power chord. Okay, first finger on the 3rd fret of the 5th string, and then 3rd finger on the 5th fret of the 4th string, and pinky on the 5th fret of the whatchamacallit, on the 3rd string. Okay, there's our power chord, right? The ways that it was notated often was like C with parentheses, no 3rd. Like, really? It's a super duper simple chord. Other times you could do C and then it would have in parentheses PC, meaning power chord. Oh, thanks. Thanks. Brad, it's so funny. I was going to just say, are you still there? We need to go to dinner, or we need to do dinner. We need to reschedule that dinner. So Brad's a neighbor, and we've been meaning to get together. So it's just like, what? I hated when I was teaching lessons, man, it was like, he's like, really? I'm gonna write B, no 3rd, D, no 3rd, E, no 3rd, G, no 3rd, F sharp, no 3rd, G, no 3rd, F sharp, no 3rd, G, no. Oh my gosh, it was such a pain in the butt. Now with tab, you don't necessarily need to write any of that, right? I was using tab to teach. I didn't really have a problem with that. But I wanted there to be some musicality or music knowledge or something imparted about music in that tablature, not just positions on a fretboard. So I would write down the names of the chords. Well, that was just annoying. So I go, well, let's see. If this is C, and this is like C6, then this is just a C and a fifth, 5. So I started calling it C5. I did it just because probably because of Iron Man, and probably because I got tired of, it's like, G, no third, F sharp, no third, G, no third, F sharp, no. I mean, it was just like, I only had a half an hour to teach these kids, you know, and so I had to get these songs down. So I just went, okay, G5, F sharp 5, G5, F sharp 5, G5. Right? And so I started using the term 5 to imply just the root and the fifth, okay? So if you want to use a chord symbol for a power chord, just put the letter that you want, A flat, and then 5. Okay? Doesn't need to be major or minor tonality there. You don't need to necessarily set it because, in fact, I think Iron Man's a perfect example. Okay, okay, we can probably assume this is a B minor, D. That's not E major though, because you're going to G, so it must be E minor. But is there a key? There is no key that has. Well, let me see. Let's see. Is there a key that has all these notes? Yeah. I guess the key of D would have all these notes. So we would think really B minor would be the relative minor to D major. So because there's F sharp and the C sharp, and then the G and the D. But regardless, I would simplify it, and so you can totally do that. And most people now understand what a 5 chord is. Did I invent it? I doubt it, because it started showing up in books and things like that, and I don't know that any of my students became editors for music transcription books. I just think a lot of teachers and transcribers had the same thought I did. You know, I'd be curious to find the first instance of it, because I'm pretty sure I was using it in Indiana before I moved here, which means that would have been 80, 81, 82. I was teaching in Carmel, Indiana. So the other one though that hasn't caught on that I'd use, all right, is, and I like this, and we've talked about, I did a whole video on power chords, and I like using octaves sometimes. For rock stuff, power chords can be heavy, and you want heavy, but other times you want it to skew pop rock or rock pop, right? So then it's like octaves sound, it's almost... Octaves sound, you know... See, that note doesn't fit the key of D here. But, well, technically it does. But it's a little, just sounds weird. So, and maybe it's implying D over F sharp instead of F sharp power chord. But when you go to octaves, you don't even have that. You don't even have to think about that. You're just basically doubling the root with an octave up. So for that, I would call this a D8. D8, because if you look, or C8, let's look at C and octave. So I'm just playing octave. It's a challenge because you got to mute all the other strings. And the cool thing is every now and then you can hit a power chord. Like I could go. That contrast, you could even again, I'm again talking more about making music than learning music, right? That's what I prefer to teach, how to make music and not so much how to play music, if that makes sense. And so yeah, that's a trick if you're writing a song. In fact, even at church, what I'll do is so often. This is true of all songs, there's dynamics, and you want to build something. And so a lot of times, if it's kind of a rock, up-tempo, eighth note driving thing, the first time through the verse and chorus, I might just play octaves. And the next time around, I'll do... It's like... it's kind of the difference between pop rock and just rock. Okay, does that make sense? It's a cool tool, a cool trick that you can use. And the way I notate it is just with the letter name of the note you're playing, and the number 8. Oh, sorry. Scott had a question. For a second there, I thought you were gonna. Oh, wait. Let's see, Scott, for the whole half formula. Oh, suggest creating a mnemonic. I always think like, well, for one thing, the major major scale formula is fairly easy if you think of it whole half and then whole half again with a hole in between. That's called the tetrachords. All right, we talked about these. Remember, not something that's referred to very often, but it's a theoretical term. And we look at a C scale. There's C, D, E, F, right? But those first 4 notes are a tetrachord, called a tetrachord. Okay, and then the next part of the scale is the same thing. It's whole, half, whole, half, whole, half. So you can think of a major scale as 2 tetrachords, and that technically goes up the fret, I could do D, but let's see, are any of the others symmetrical like that? There's probably a minor one that's symmetrical. A minor? Yeah, A minor. A minor is the same way. It's whole, half, whole, and then whole, half, whole. So whole, half, whole on top of a whole, half, whole. Oh wait, no, that's not true. No, I don't think there's any other one than the C that's symmetrical in that regard, or other than the major that's symmetrical in that regard. But things I haven't thought about deeply. So, all right. Oh, and I do have a session to do. I've got this chart. Speaking of power chords, boom, 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 boom. Yeah, I've got a pretty quick session, but the composer wants me to film myself doing it and talking about it. So, that's, I've known drummers that do that, where they just film their sessions and send it to them. Drummers are kind of, generally when you're doing a drum session, you kind of listen to the track a couple times, figure out what you're going to do if it's not too notated and whatever, and then you do it all in one pass. It's when you're tracking drums by yourself, it's difficult to punch in. I mean, you could totally do it, not impossible at all, but you really have to remember how you got into the punch-in spot, or else you're going to have a cymbal hanging over that you didn't play. So usually drummers are pretty good at getting all the way through a song. I mean, unless it's like a 15-minute song or something, without messing up. That's kind of what they're laying down the groove and all that kind of thing. But when I'm doing guitars, a lot of times I'm trying different things, layering tracks. In this case, they want me to double everything so they can pan it left and right. That's very common. I might do a track of effects, just sounds and things like that. It looks like we're in the key of, see, we have an F and an E flat and an A flat and an E flat and an F. I mean, it looks like we're kind of an F minor. Got an E flat down to E flat, ends on an A power chord. So it must change keys at some point. But oh, let's see. Hola, my friend Pablo. Just telling him I'm live streaming, maybe he'll jump on. So yeah, it's that, I'll try to do value added, but I've got to film, and I may use 2 cameras, and I've got to do commentary. So, but drummers will often film because it's with 1 take, and it's added value for the whoever they're sending the tracks to. And so I do it when I'm asked to do it. I don't do it naturally, generally, because it's already I'm the engineer and the guitar player, so it's already I got 2 jobs. I don't want to also be the videographer, if that makes sense. So, yeah. Yeah, 2 tetrachord thing definitely kind of helps you visualize. Like I said, I don't really. They're not. I mean, I can play them on my. I can play them on my. Cluster guitar. There's 1 tetrachord, and here's the other one. You see, there's all D's. Oh no, C's. So yeah, I can. There's a tetrachord right there, and then here's the other one. It's still a bit of a stretch, but I've got C, D, E, F, and then I've got G, A, B, C. But I use it because I get a real kind of hammer dulcimer sound out of it, or dulcimer sound. I don't know if you can hear that. I'm not plugged in, but I should set up an acoustic like that. I should pick up like a cheap acoustic and then string it. It probably wouldn't be very good for the neck, but that's why you buy a cheap one. I wouldn't do it to one of my Martins, but I wouldn't do it to this guitar. Okay, so so minor. I think we've covered enough of understanding chord names. If you have any questions about it, let me know. Whoops. I always do this. It's like, okay. If you have any questions about understanding chord names, let me know. Oh. I think it's set too low. Pants check. Still trying to get used to the pick that most oud players use. It's you hold it kind of like this, and it used to be a feather. Dude, I don't ever wear shorts, Brad. I just don't. But there was a period of time where you couldn't see my pants when I was teaching because of the camera angle. And so nobody knew if I was wearing pants or not until I stood up. Yeah, I love playing oud. I need to learn more melodies, songs, and stuff, and some of the scales and techniques. Oh no, it goes this way. It's not tuned like a guitar. It's not tuned like a guitar. It's kind of tuned like a the tuning, and it's pretty standard tune. The one I'm using there is D, G, A, D, G, C. And I think the original thinking of it is that you have bass notes 1, 4, 5. That's why it's D, G, A. It might be easier if it were D. I don't know. But if you look at the top 4 strings, A, D, G, C, it's tuned in fourths, like a guitar. So it'd be kind of like the top 4 strings at the 7th fret. So it makes it, that's kind of how I visualize it when I'm playing it. I can totally see the guitar. But I did a session on Saturday with oud, and he wanted the composer wanted some chords. Down here you can see that, and it looks more confusing than it is. Basically these are rolled chords, but when you print up the MIDI, it ends up looking like a bunch of 16th notes with all these ties. But really it's basically just, like, it's just, and when they roll that, to get that rolled sound that we often use, changing guitar so much, but it's like, that's what they want. But in MIDI, it looks like a mess. Sometimes what I'll do is I'll highlight those chords on the MIDI and then quantize, and I'll look and see, are they on the quarter notes? I'll quantize them for quarter notes, and they'll all line up, and it'll just be stacked chords. And I know, okay, I'm supposed to. But if it's a small passage like that, I can just, you can see I actually went through and wrote by hand. Wait, let's see if I can get this. Dang it. How do I? There we go. You can see I actually wrote E minor, D, B minor by hand. And that really didn't help too much because on oud, I'm not like, oh, B minor, D major, whatever. I don't know that, I still had to kind of go through and learn the shapes because I hadn't. So Pablo said, I talked to my grandnephew here in Ecuador, and he decided to become a musician, guitar player. First thing I asked him to do was subscribe to your channel. So If Pablo Aguirre's nephew is watching, hola, ¿qué tal? Do you know what the currency is called in Ecuador? I know Sam will probably know this. Oh, where's my oud from? That one's from Turkey. Yeah, that one's from Turkey. My other oud that I actually used on the session, that one I didn't use on the session. I did the first track, not this. It's on the floor now, but like I did the first few phrases on both ouds to determine, because that one is a flat back, it's easier to hold, and it's got geared tuners, it's easier to tune. But the flat back is not quite as deep. No, that Bitcoin, is that Nicaragua that went to Bitcoin? Or was going to, or is talking about it, which was a huge mistake if they did. No, it's actually the US dollar, believe it or not. The Ecuador currency is the US dollar. Yeah, but the flat back is you know, I wish it's like about, what was it, 3 inches thick, something like that. If it were like really thick, like a dreadnought, like that thick, yeah, maybe it's like 2.5 inches thick. It's pretty shallow. If they made a fatter one, maybe even a bigger one that compensated for the lack of depth, it would be bigger sounding. But when I played the real oud, that, you know, that's why I have this stuff out. This is for rugs. You put this under rugs to keep them from slipping, anti-slip rug thing. I put this on my lap, and then the oud doesn't fall off my lap. Because I'm not holding it properly. If I held it properly, which is to put it up against my outside leg, then I could it wouldn't slip because I'd be holding it with my arm. But I like playing it between my legs, because like a classical guitar, because, and I can tilt it a little bit, but it's still going to slide off, because it's basically like trying to hold a watermelon for any length of time. Yeah, your ovation, yeah, it's great for that. You know, if you're standing with an ovation, it's not really a problem. You know, the only problem with an ovation is it can kind of do that rotation thing while you're standing there, especially if you have a little bit of a belly. But that's true of any guitar. But yeah, so that oud is flat back, and I can hold it up against it. It's not rolling off. But the real oud was much deeper and sounded better. And I went, okay, I'm going to have to use the real oud, even though it doesn't have tuners. I mean, it doesn't have geared tuners. It has friction peg tuners that are 1-to-1 gear ratio. I just ordered some new tuner pegs for it, because when I got this thing from my guy in Istanbul, he just sent me this for free, but it's a Chord, and you'll notice that the tuning pegs have this kind of space for your thumb, and the first thing you want to do before you tune is just kind of give these all a good push in. You can hear them actually, because when you turn them, they tend to come loose anyway. So it's good to start in with it as tight as you can go. Let's see if I can get this tuned. And this is tuned kind of weird. So G, unison G, oh, I have it, okay. I was gonna say, that's lower than I remember. See, and it's already too loose, so I gotta shove it in again. But it's easier to shove it in when it's got that little cutout. Hard to get it exactly there. And then what's the next one here? And then F. Again, I should use the... And it also has more frets per octave, like the octave is here. Here's the octave. So it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 frets in the octave. And that's so you can do these kind of the quarter tone stuff. So there's the minor. Let's see. Anyway. It's kind of, it's basically the smallest, there's a sound hole right there. It's the smallest of the saz instruments, saz, which, so I'm going to get a saz, it's going to be it's going to be longer neck. This one's also kind of hard to hold. You know, you probably should play it like, hold it like against your leg, but then you're plucking way up here. It's like, I'm going to pluck more over by the bridge. So anyway, it's bizarre. Really cool way that the strings went in now. Once I learned how to do that. And the lower string is in the middle, which is interesting. I just ordered another instrument. I've got it coming. I don't know when I haven't gotten a shipping announcement yet. But I'll show it to you when I get it. I'd never seen one before. And I immediately ordered one. So it's actually really cool. I think you'll dig it. No, this one, Sam, was tuned. I have it tuned G, C, F. But a lot of players tune it D, A, G. You could tune it probably D, A, D, no problem. It wouldn't probably be a problem to tune it D-A-D. Might make more sense to tune it that way, to be honest. I was just trying to go with a legit tuning so I could kind of learn the instrument a little bit, but I haven't spent any, you can obviously tell I haven't spent any time with it. I need to, you know, like the pick, you know, the guy that I get my Egyptian stuff from, or my Middle Eastern stuff, sent me all these picks. I mean, they're just really rubbery and soft. I'm like, I really like a hard pick. And so none of these that he sends are particularly hard. These are the hardest ones. And so these are the ones that are out. But yeah, it's a whole nother technique. I mean, if I had 1,000 lifetimes, I would spend each one of them learning a different style of music and living in that country if I had a choice where I was born, you know. I was born in America, so I'm gonna have that. I'm gonna be good at that stuff. But boy, the Arabic stuff, that's all. You know, again, you'd have to be born listening to it. I've talked about it before. There's a great app you can get on your phone. If you have an iPhone, I'm sure they have it for Google phones too. It's called Radio, and it's super cool. I don't want to play it, but basically, I'm gonna mute right now. You tap on the country, and then you tap on. Let's see, I don't know if you can see that. How can I do this? Go here. Anyway, radio. You tap on the country, like I can tap on Morocco, and then I can tap on the decade. I've got 1900 all the way to today. They have 2070. I don't know what that means. Original compositions and visions of the future by artists of today. Interesting. But like I can go listen to what was the biggest song in 1970 in Morocco, or the biggest songs, and it'll play me a playlist of songs from that era in that country. I got France, it's the whole world, every country in the world's on here, which is so cool. I mean, you can go to Greece, Sam, and see, oh, what was the hits in Greece in the 60s, in the 70s, the 80s, 90s. So it's called, yeah, I Need a Goose Quill. That's right. I actually went looking for one. I went to shoot, what's it called? Michael's, the hobby store, looking for big feathers because I thought, oh, I could try to use it. Because I think there's more resistance because those are cylindrical and hollow. They're pretty solid. So the app is called Radio. It's free. I thought I was logged in. I created an account where I could save songs and stuff, but I guess it logged me out. I got to figure out what my login was. But it's a cool little app, and it's kind of one of those things where you can just have it on in the background and be playing music from anywhere in the world. It's kind of fun. I've done it. I've had it for a long time, and I used it right before going to to Spain and right before going to Amsterdam, so I could kind of just hear the music that was big in the 80s or whatever. It's true of any country. The decades all have their own sound, so that the 80s hits in Morocco are very different than the 50s hits. And it's amazing how many of them have Western music tiltings too. Like there's songs in the, techno songs in the 80s that in Japan or whatever. But there's also like in, if you listen to, 50s music in, I don't know, Germany, you're going to hear kind of some 50s rock and roll kind of thing too. So 5 O's. Let me count the O's. Yes, Radio. Like I said, it's free, and you don't even need to log in to use it. But you're very limited. There's only like 5 songs per country per decade or whatever, and I'm sure it's just using Spotify or YouTube or something like that to play the songs. But they have playlists you can subscribe to, just like Spotify. I just find it's fascinating because I was listening to a lot of Arabic music to try to kind of get that. Like I said, one of the best things you could do to become the best musician you can be is to listen to as much music as you can. If you want to sound like Jimi Hendrix, one of the best ways to do it is listen to a lot of Jimi Hendrix, so that when you dial it in, when you dial that tone in, when you get your hands in the right position, you'll recognize it. It'll sound familiar. Be like, oh, that's the sound, or that's the voicing he used, or oh, that's where he played it on the neck. And so you kind of have to immerse yourself in the artist you want to emulate, and you'll find that it's easier to emulate them. So losing the single and driving under, yeah. And radio uses the app Radio uses. It's playing something right now. Yeah, that's Morocco. I forget what decade I put in there. What decade? 70s. So yeah, it's definitely a fun thing. And like Sam, I think you could totally do. They have a desktop. Okay. Yeah. You could totally do Greece, or the other things you could do the adjacent countries to Greece and see what they were doing in the same. Yep, it's like listening to 70s AM radio. Exactly. Yeah, I remember. Oh, you talk about them. Yeah, it totally. I don't know if there are any. There was one AM radio station, music station in LA. I think Disney had a radio station, the AM station. Radio Disney was AM, and it was funny to listen to that with the kids and stuff. And it sounded like the scratchy thing, like you're listening to the radio back in the 60s and 70s. I remember going on road trips and driving up to Michigan in the summer, up into Lake City, and you're in the middle of freaking nowhere. So there's about 2 radio stations that you can get in on your TV, in the car, and so my mom would have to kind of scroll until she found one. There was no automatic search and seek or anything like that in the 60s. You just kind of had to You just had to turn the dial, so I'm sleepy. Okay, any questions? Sam, I played a lot of disco. I don't have a problem with disco. And you will definitely run into a lot of disco all over the world. I mean, in fact, there'll be a lot of countries where that disco craze actually didn't hit until the 80s because they were kind of behind the times. But I imagine if you go to Vietnam in the 80s, it would be disco. Yeah, I mean, you know. Oh, there was a question posted to you on Discord asking if standard or other tuning was used on Bieber's song. Oh, yeah, on Love Yourself. That. Oh, I saw that question. He was kind of bugging me. He was talking about the Bieber playing it in a certain video, and I don't even know if. I mean, I watched the video he sent me, and it was like it was a little thing where he was showing up at a school, surprising a school music program or something, and played a little bit of that song because I think it was like the hit of the day. But Justin oftentimes won't play the song right, so I'm not sure why he wanted to learn those chords. But I doubt that Justin was using any weird tuning. I just think he was playing the song wrong. So if that guy's watching, though, it's standard tuning. I actually play guitar on that. Or I was hired to replace Ed, because Ed Sheeran wrote that. It's just tenths. Okay, so you go C, count up 10, you get E. You go D, count up 10, you get F. So it's, in this case we're in the key of E, but that's what he's doing. But Justin didn't really. I don't know what Justin was like. He probably just singing over like 1 5 6 4. I mean, he would do that to my songs. Like he'd play my songs live, and he wouldn't even get close to the chords I wrote. And it was funny because it wasn't like it was hard. So, I love that old rock and roll. Yes. Yeah, everybody thought disco kind of killed rock. Yeah, I mean, it'd be interesting if you look at the... let's see, where's... Top 40 songs, let's say 1973. Okay? What were the top songs in 1973? Tile. Okay, and this is the other thing. When they say music was better back in the day, it's like there were crappy pop songs back in the day too. Tie a Yellow Ribbon Around the Old Oak Tree. I mean, it's not a horrible song, but it's not great. Number 2 was Bad Bad Leroy Brown. Not a bad song. Killing Me Softly with his song. Great song. Let's Get It On. A great song. My Love by Paul McCartney. My love doesn't good. That was number 5 for the year of 1973. It's an okay song. Why Me by Chris Christopherson. I couldn't even sing it to you. Probably if I heard it. Crocodile Rock. Okay. Will It Go Around in Circles. Billy Preston. You're So Vain by Carly Simon. And Touch Me in the Morning by Diana Ross. Okay, that was the top 10. Brother Louie by The Stories. Playground of My Mind. Delta Dawn. Awful song. Me and Mrs. Jones. Frankenstein was in 16 for the year. That's interesting. So that would be the first rock song that I would say is in, so that's 1973. That's well before disco. There's no disco songs on here. The first rock song that I would say is a rock song in this list is the top 100 songs is Edgar Winter Group doing Frankenstein. Drift Away by Dobie Gray, no. Little Willie by Sweet, yeah, that was a rock tune. I liked Sweet. Sweet was a fun band. Half Breed by Cher, no. You Are the Sunshine of My Life by Stevie Wonder, Isley Brothers, Sylvia. No, it was a lot of We're an American Band. That was 23. All right. Wild Flower by Skylark. That's interesting because that song was actually, Skylark is Jay Graydon was in that band with David Foster. And David Foster went on to an amazing career. Superstition by Stevie Wonder. Loves Me Like a Rock, Paul Simon. Not rock song, really. Rocky Mountain High, The Morning After. There's got to be a morning after, which was from a movie. Stuck in the Middle with You. Yeah. So not a lot of rock songs. So now if I go to, can I, top 70 songs. Okay. So now if I go to top songs, and let's say disco was pretty well established by 78, I would say. Let's go there. Okay, this is, yeah, and now you got Shadow Dancing, Night Fever, You Light Up My Life by Debbie Boone. These are the top in order. Staying Alive, Kiss You All Over by Exile, How Deep Is Your Love, Baby Come Back by Player, Love Is Thicker Than Andy Gibb, Taste of Honey. So you've got still a lot of urban music. It's not much different than it was before. Maybe, now our first rock tune was at 16. Lay Down Sally is at 15. Technically a rock song, I guess. But again, that was almost Eric Clapton trying to do kind of a shuffly southern kind of thing. Miss You by the Rolling Stones, 16. But with a hi-hat that's a kind of a typical disco hi-hat. So disco, if it didn't necessarily kill rock as much as the allure of making money in disco. I think I'm getting too much white off of it. There we go. The allure of making money in music lured too many artists like the Stones into making disco records. Like if the Beatles had still been together, of course they were basically a pop band. They weren't a rock band. I mean, they did some rock tunes, but if the Beatles were together, they probably would have done a disco album too in the late 70s. So many bands were doing it. So it's kind of going with the flow. That kind of thing doesn't happen so much today. It's everybody's looking for the next thing so quickly now. I think that one certain style doesn't tend to sit around. Although I do think there's a lot of the reggaeton groove and a lot of stuff. So, I know, right? I hate Delta Dawn. Well, it's one of Beth's least favorite too. So anytime I want to just plant a worm in her ear, I'll start humming Delta Dawn, and before she knows it, she's singing the song. Let's see. Earworm. Yeah, there you go. I do that to Beth all the time. Delta Dawn, what's that flower you have? Oh, it's awful. There is no decade of great music. I'm sorry, but there were great bands in the 70s, but there are great bands today. You just got to find them. I mean, there's some really good rock bands today, but I'm not ever on the hunt. What's his name? Rick Beato is pretty up on that stuff, so you can hear about. But even he'll talk about the 20 greatest songs, and he maybe have one from the last 25 years in that list. So, a classical tremolo. Max? What are you asking me? Oh, No Cat Stevens. Yeah, not in that list. I'm gonna get blanched out here, but I'm sure he's in here on this. Noel, 1970. What did I say? 78. 78. I mean, the artists represented here: Andy Gibb, Bee Gees, Debbie Boone, Bee Gees, Exile, Bee Gees. Look at that. 3 of the top 6 were Bee Gees, and Andy Gibb, he's a Bee Gee, and then number 8 is Bee Gees. So literally between Andy Gibb and his brothers, they accounted for 5 of the top 10 songs of 1978. Isn't that amazing? Taste of Honey, Boogie, Oogie, Oogie, Get Down, and let's check this out. So Shadow Dancing, I don't remember. Light of My Life, Staying Alive, Kiss You All, How Deep Is Your Love, Baby Come Back, I did in a band. Boogie Oogie Oogie, I did in a band. 3 Times a Lady, I did in a band. That was Commodores. And that was Lionel Richie singing that. Didn't do Grease, I Go Crazy. No. You're the One I Want. That's from Grease. Samantha sang Emotion. I don't know that. Eric Clapton, Rolling Stones, Billy Joel, Just the Way You Are. That was his first. Was that his first hit? It was pretty much. That was after Piano Man, but Piano Man was never, I don't think, ever a big hit. Not until later. It was a popular radio hit, though. Let's see. Wings, Yvonne Elliman, Chic, which is where what's his name came from, the guitar player, great guitar player. Nick Gilder, Chuck Mangione, Feel So Good. Ugh. I mean, I love that song a little bit. I like the guitar solo on it. I've worked with Grant Geisman, the guitar player. Sweet, Love Is Like Oxygen, not a bad song. Bonnie Tyler, It's a Heartache, also not a bad song. You know, kind of dirgy, but, you know, Bonnie Tyler, It's a Heartache kind of reminded me of Rod Stewart, kind of like, she's like the female Rod Stewart. Kind of a gravelly voice and similar songs. Queen, We Will Rock You, We Are the Champions, that was 78. Jerry Rafferty, Baker Street, big record. I'm surprised that's not further up. It seemed like that thing was almost playing 24/7 in the 70s. Barry Manilow, first, 27. Johnny Mathis, Denise Williams, Too Much, Too Little, Too Late. I know Denise Williams. She goes to my church. Let's see. Peter Brown, Dance With Me. Don't remember that one. Meatloaf, 2 out of 3 ain't bad. That actually is a pretty good record. Jack and Jill Radio. That's Ray Parker, who also goes to my church. ABBA, Take a Chance on Me. Or Ray Parker has gone to my church. I haven't seen him in a long time. But ABBA, Dan Hill. Sometimes When We Touch. That's Dan Hill. Donna Summer, Olivia Newton-John. Totally had a crush on her. Foreigner. There's a good, Hot Blooded. That's a good rock track. That's number 36. You're in My Heart. And Rod Stewart, mentioned him. Dust in the Wind, Kansas. So that song wasn't until 78. For some reason, that feels like an older song than that. Would you call that a rock song? If it's a rock band. Randy Newman, Walter Egan, Short People is a hit. Short People and Dust in the Wind were hits the same year. The OJs, Used to Be My Girl. Natalie Cole, Pablo Cruz, Love Will Find a Way. I have a friend that's touring with Pablo Cruz right now. Another Andy Gibb song. David Gates, Paul Simon, Heat Wave, Jay Ferguson, Atlanta Rhythm Section, really good band. There's Bruce, Bob Seger at 52. I would say it's still the same as a rock tune, but it was kind of a ballady, right? Tramps, George Benson, Styx, LTD Player, a lot of R&B songs. Carly Simon, Dolly Parton, Linda Ronstadt, Steely Dan, great, one of my favorite bands. Again, not a big hit band though. Earth, Wind & Fire's in here. This is all pre Earth, Wind & Fire getting bad. Big. Here's Hollywood Nights by Bob Seger back in 99. At 99. Steely Dan gets the 100 spot. So that's 78. So you could maybe make the argument that disco, but I went 73 to 78. Well, let's go to 83. And I think what we'll find there is now New Wave has already displaced any disco hits. Let's see. U.S. What is this? Is this a chart? I need a chart. I don't need some weird website that's going to have like every song. What the heck? No, it's just not a useful site. Go away. All right. Let's see if this. I hate when it's really just a page of ads. It's not actually any songs. It's like, gosh, not what I asked for. All right, this is the Wikipedia page. This will be good. All right, so yeah, you've got The Police, number 1, Every Breath You Take. Great song, great band. Rock band, yeah, new wave band. They would probably be new wave rock. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm missing a lot. Hot Stuff. I never heard that song. If I've heard that song one more time, Hot Stuff by Donna Summer. Yeah, Hot Stuff. What are we talking about? Let's see. The 8-minute refrain. I don't remember that, and I'm not going to listen to it to hear it. So, Sweet Saxophone, Baker Street. Yeah, that was a great. Just that's a hook right there. That's the hook. You don't get any more hooky than the sax on Baker Street, really. He's sipping beers instead of coffee. Early start. It's not that early, I guess. Just let's see. All right. So yeah, Michael Jackson, Billie Jean, number 2. Flashdance. What if Irene Cara, Men at Work, Down Under. I think you're gonna see Men at Work on here a lot. But Bonnie Tyler again. Hall and Oates. Hall and Oates had a huge 82. And then at the end of 82, in time for Christmas, Thriller came out, and oh my gosh, Michael just owned. There's Billie Jean and Beat It right there in the top 10. Michael Sembello, Maniac. Really good. Actually, I bought that album. Maniac was from Flashdance, the movie, but Michael Sembello was Stevie Wonder's guitar player, and he sang was it Stevie Wonder he reminds me of? He's a really good guitar player. He played the guitar solo on Maniac. And I bought that album, and the album, had its moments. You could probably listen to it on Spotify. I wouldn't buy, well, who buys albums anymore? But that's a good one. And again, this is the year I moved to California. So I remember Culture Club being big on the radio because I had to drive. It took me 3 days to get out here. Dexy's Midnight Runners, Eddie Rabbitt, Bob Seger again, still hitting that top 100. Donna Summer still. Sergio Mendes, Never Gonna Let You Go. It's not Sergio Mendes, that's his band with a singer. Duran Duran, going to be a lot of Duran. Bowie, Let's Dance. That's got Stevie Ray Vaughan on it, so technically kind of a bluesy rock song. Golden Earring, Twilight Zone. I'm trying to remember, how does Twilight Zone go? Golden Earring. That's a rock band though, right? Greg Kiggan Band was rock. My Love in Jeopardy. Oh, Electric Avenue by Eddie Grant. That's been used on a lot of commercials. Blinded Me with Science, Dolby. Africa by Toto, one of my favorite bands. Definitely a rock band. Putting on the Ritz by Taco. Prince, Little Red Corvette. That was pretty much the beginning of Prince's career. So he's getting ready to have a whole bunch of hits after this. Pretenders, great new wave rock band. Joe Cocker, Up Where We Belong. That was from a movie. Love lift us up where we belong. Was that from Officer and a Gentleman? Marvin Gaye, Human League. Culture Club again. Men Without Hats. Hated that song, Safety Dance. I hated the video. It was awful. Tony Basil, Mickey. Hey, Mickey, you're so fine. Phil Collins, You Can't Hurry Love, doing a cover of an old Supreme song. Journey, Separate Ways. There's a rock band in there. Hall & Oates, Kenny Rogers, Sheena Easton. We've Got Tonight. No, that's what's We've Got Tonight? I don't know what that is. Prince, 1999. Stray Cats, fun band. Billy Joel, Allentown. Rock song. Stevie Nicks, Stand Back, kind of a rock song. Billy Joel, Naked Eyes, Lionel Richie, Don Henley, Dirty Laundry. I would say that's a rock song. Again, it's like nothing rock like Zeppelin, but the things are not going to stay the same. If you want to listen to Zeppelin, put on a Zeppelin record. The Clash, Rock the Casbah, Adamant, Goody Two Shoes. Kaja Gugu, I remember that band. Duran Duran again, Laura Branigan, Gloria. I bought that record because it had a bunch of LA session players on it. Rick Springfield, The Tubes, She's a Beauty. Again, bought that record because it was basically Toto, and I was a big Toto fan. So The Tubes, I would buy that. Laura Branigan, again, she had a bunch of hits up here. Styx, rock band. David Bowie, Kinks, Naked Eye. Yeah, Little Red Man. So this is 83. So we're getting into that whole new wave thing. So I'm going to close this window, and it'll get darker. So yeah, a lot of, the music changed a lot from 73 to 83. Oh my gosh, huge difference. A lot less soul and R&B in 83 than there was in 73, and especially in 78. So it was kind of a pendulum thing. So I would say rock kind of came back in the 80s, and then it came back again in the 90s, but you wouldn't necessarily notice it on the top 10 charts. What year did Nirvana come out? Was that like 91? I mean, Nirvana came out in 89, I think, but they, let's say 91, the year before Alex was born. Let's see, Bryan Adams, Color Me Bad, CNC Music Factory, Paula Abdul. This is about the time I stopped listening to Top 40 radio. So there's a lot of songs here that I don't even know, and artists. Now, Extreme, More Than Words is on there, but I don't see, let's see if Nirvana's anywhere on here. No. Can I just click to the next? Yeah, right there. All right. Okay, so here's Nirvana, Smells Like Teen Spirit. That's the only one, and that's made it to 32, right after Come and Talk to Me by Jodeci, and Joe Public, Live and Learn, and En Vogue, who I know, what's her name, Cindy Bragg, actually good friend of ours from En Vogue. They're on the road right now. Madonna, Michael Jackson, Guns N' Roses, November Rain. Chili Peppers, Under Bridge was that year. That made it up to 8. End of the Road was Boys to Men. That was number 1. Baby Got Back, Sir Mix-a-Lot. That was number 2. And Crisscross with Jump. I don't know that one. I'm sure I'd know it if I heard it. Save the Best for Last, Vanessa Williams, Baby, 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 TLC. So a lot of R&B. It got a lot more urban and R&B again. Again, it's this kind of like shifting thing. I don't know. The problem now is that there is a definite lack of bands. So if I were to look at the top 40 today and compare it to the top 40 in, say, the 80s, you're just not going to see, we've talked about this before, you're not going to see any bands today. And my speculation is part of the reason why you don't see bands is because record companies had a real dry period there because of downloading, people, because of Napster and downloading and MP3s and then streaming and things like that. Now they're kind of coming back. Now the question is, will they start signing bands again? Well, they might start signing bands again if there's a band out there that has a giant smash hit. And by band, I don't mean like BTS. BTS is not a band; that's a boy band. But like a legitimate band like Maroon 5, even Maroon 5, I almost think is a one-person band. And maybe that's biased. I shouldn't say that because there's one lead singer, it's like I wouldn't call the Rolling Stones a one-person band. They are a legitimate band. So it just depends on how much the band members contribute to the whole sound. U2 is a classic, has been gone through for years and years and years. We've got tonight. Yeah, but that might be a different We've Got Tonight. I don't know if that's the one, because you can't copyright a name of a song. And so I don't know if that's the same one. What year was that? 90? I doubt it was the Billboard, what did I say, 92? Was that? No. Was it? Which one? Was it 91? No, that's not the one. So which? No. Oh, Toad the Wet Sprocket, All I Want. I like that band. They were, I think, from Santa Barbara. And they never, that was one of those things where I thought in the early 90s that kind of the, I don't know, acoustic rock pop was going to, kind of make it big and be a genre for 5 years. But it's been less happening. So, yeah. Anyway, I should probably get to work. Like I said, I've got to do this session, and I got to film it. How's my hair look? So it might end up on the socials. I don't know. That's one of the things it's not always thrilled to be filming sessions, so I don't necessarily want to show how the sausage is made, and also, you know, sometimes sometimes I wonder if it's like a composer's way of checking up on you if you're really working those hours. I bill the actual hours. I don't pad numbers, but he told me what I was recording, and I gave him a quote, and I think my quote was too high because now that I see the music, unless there's more coming, this won't take me very long, and that'll probably show in the video. So I'm not going to charge him what I told him I'm going to charge him because I'm an honest guy. So you know, it's just the way it is. But okay. Oh, people make music behind their computers now. Yeah, I think that's a big part of it, Nies. Okay, I didn't actually make my point. I think, and I've probably said this before, I think part of the reason why bands, because record companies, you know, were not making a lot of money. You can, if you want, you know, it might be interesting to go through top 40 charts from the 55 until today, and you know, the top 100 songs, and see how many bands are in those, and you know, I should do that. I should do a study on that and see, you know, maybe do a video on it and go, look at, here's the chart that I came up with to show the number of bands that charted in the top 40. But I think part of it was because when a major label signs an artist, they give them a per diem, or not a per diem, they give them a living expenses. But for one person, it's pretty easy, you know, it can be pretty cheap to live. And a lot of bands, they would, you know, it's like you've got to support 4 or 5 people, you know, 3 or 4 or 5 people. So if you're giving an artist $2,000 a month to pay their bills while they make their record, then it would stand a reason that you might have to give a band like $10,000 or $8,000 or $10,000 or $5,000 to $10,000 to pay their bills. So there's less of an incentive because most records never get finished, and those that do, most of those don't get released. I mean, I always think about Thriller. Thriller made Epic so much money that they could sign 1 million artists and bands with that money, and they did, to take a bunch of other shots, and some of them paid off, some of them didn't. But there was so much money there because of it. So I think that that's part of it. It takes more money to sign a band than it does to sign an artist, and that ergo more risk, and the chance of it being a smash, having them having a smash is pretty slim. So I should do that. I would be curious about that. I always talk about it, and I'd be curious to see if there's a trend. Of course, in the 60s, there's going to be a period of time where the Beatles have 20 or 30 songs. So that means, you know, just by the Beatles alone in 65, you probably have, out of the top 100, you probably have 20 songs by the Beatles. So that's a huge, that's 20% right there of the top 100 songs being played by a band. And you got the Rolling Stones, you got the Kinks, you got all the other, you know, I don't know if Cream had any hits. Hendrix would be I would consider Hendrix not a band. But then again, if it was the Jimi Hendrix Experience, then I would say that's a band. So I'm gonna have to determine my criteria. Is 2 people a band? Like Johnny and Santos, would that be a band? Or Santos and Johnny, or whatever? Is that a band if it's 2 people? If it's a duo? It's definitely. I'm gonna try to. I'll try to see if I can come up with the thing. Also, we'll talk about doing Saturday. And then also I'll go on shoot, what's it? Discord. I'll go on Discord, sorry, and answer that kid's question, so he doesn't keep bugging us. So anyway, I will talk to you all later. I didn't really engage enough here. I don't know what happened. I started out strong and I ended weak. So Nothing against you guys. I love you guys. No, you're welcome, John. I appreciate it. I don't know how informative it was, but we'll get off of this. We'll get out of the weeds this week. And I don't think I even monetized this now that I think about it. I did not. So you guys didn't have to watch an ad or anything. You're lucky. I forgot to monetize it. So I didn't make anything. Well, Brad, you took care of me. God bless you, Brad. I appreciate that. Always. And that money, yeah, that's going to the Jaguar fund. I'm gonna get a Jaguar. So maybe by the end of the year I'll buy a new Jaguar. We'll see. A lot of it depends on income before the end of the year. If I have a lot of income, I'm going to need some write-offs. And so a Jaguar might find its way into my collection. But I really like my Bass 6, which is a Jaguar Electronics. And so I think that would be a fun way to go. So anyway, God bless you. Thank you so much for watching. Yeah, Brad, I see you there. Thank you. Pink Floyd. Yeah, see, I don't think Pink Floyd really made, but I'll find out. It will take me a while to do this chart, but anyway, I'll check it out. Okay, bye.